Hey guys, this is Whyt Manga here with a new video on how to draw fight scenes, and in this video I'm going to focus a great deal on how to draw fight scenes that involve a punch. Now, first thing you want to keep in mind is to figure out where the characters are being placed. For this drawing, I'm just going to draw a very simple punch between two, let's just say martial artists, say kind of like MMA kind of thing going on. And don't mind the scenery change. I kind of moved, and I have a video about me moving and stuff like that, would which I think you guys might like. But again, back to this video, I start off drawing the head, and here I'm drawing what's closer to, say, in this case, what will be the camera, which is your eyes, right? I'm drawing what's closer to me first, right? So I'm drawing the head, and that little circle there is just kind of like where the ear would go, kind of like indicating where the character's faced. And I'm kind of going in and drawing his back, making it very simple, and where his, try to make it simple for this video, but kind of letting you know how his body is going to be positioned. So for this video, the main focus here is to figure out how he's placed, how he's positioned, how he's standing, how he's reacting. So the character for this drawing, the character that's close to us, because this is the character receiving the punch, right? So the character giving the punch will be in front of this character. So I'm kind of molding his body, like almost treating him like he's a doll, thinking of the drawing in 3D and just figuring out where his body would go, right? And I don't care about any of the details, at least not yet. You can see here I'm putting in his fingers, drawing the whole hand, and it's almost like I'm molding everything. To be honest, while I was drawing this, I wasn't really sure where I was going with this video. All I knew is, we're gonna draw a punch, someone's gonna receive a punch, and that'll be that. So here I'm just putting in the fingers. I have videos that go into more detail about anatomy, which I'll link to, and detail about drawing hands and little tips you need to keep in mind when drawing hands and things like that, and I'll link to those as well. So here we've drawn the character that's receiving the punch. Now I'm trying to figure out where the punch is coming from and what direction it's going in and things like that. And based on that, I usually draw the fist first. If I don't draw the fist first, I draw his head, right? So in this case, I kind of want you guys to be able to see the character's face, the character giving the punch. And for here, I've decided where his, the trajectory of the punch, or how it's going, and now I'm drawing like the front of the fist, because from where he's punching, we're going to be seeing the front of the fist, right? And I'm trying to make this video as simple as possible, so most of the drawings are starting off as in shapes, and I don't care about details. As you can see, the little circle there is kind of his elbow, and we don't get to see most of his arm. We get to see a little bit of his shoulder, and then we see like his head, which I'll try to figure out where that would be. And in this case, the character in front of us, his head is blocking the character giving the punch. So I'm going to reposition the punch giver. Let's call him Connor, right? Let's just call him Connor. Connor is giving the punch, and Aldo is receiving the punch, right? So let's stick with that. Make things for you guys and not have it be too confusing. So I'm going to change it just so I can have Connor's face showing. So here now, instead of focusing on the trajectory, and nothing was wrong with that previous video, I just kind of want to show the face in this tutorial, so I'm not going to go with that. I'm going to do something else. So now I'm putting in a position where I can see Connor's face. Now for this, keep in mind that that was actually correct, by the way. Keep in mind that when the character is like in a fighting stance, we don't get to see that much neck. He's kind of like hunched back, and his neck, his head is kind of like almost sinking into his body, kind of like a turtle. So we don't get to see that much neck, right? So as you can see here, you would see his shoulders would kind of come up really almost to his ear level, and we'll get to see his hands. And in a fighting stance, right? In a traditional fighting stance, you wouldn't see the character just stand up straight. Now, obviously, there are some exceptions to that. You know, maybe when a character doesn't care and he knows he's like ridiculously stronger than the other one. And you can see this in a lot of animes and stuff like that, where there is no fighting stance. They're just stronger. They're just stronger. But in this case, when I'm trying to make things a little more realistic, we have the head hunched in. You know, kind of like boxers, MMA kind of thing. Obviously, everybody kind of has different stances. One way to practice that will be to look at actual fighters and notice their anatomy. So here I've drawn his head first, and I drew his shoulder, and then I'm trying to figure out where the fist is going to go. Now, the problem with this drawing is that we wouldn't necessarily see the front of the fist, which I just drew. You would, in a way, but I'm going to change that for it to have a little more impact. Not that there's anything wrong with this, but I want to punch like with a whole lot of impact. This is like really simple, and it almost looks like Aldo is overselling it. One key tip here in this whole tutorial is that I'm not drawing the fist on the face, right? I'm not drawing the actual impact, right? You can see the impact, but you're seeing the impact after the punch has gone across. I'm not drawing the fist on the face. Now, there's some cases you can do that if that's what you want to portray. If there's something about that drawing you want to portray and you want to show how the fist is really destroying that face, so you're drawing the fist directly on the face, or if it was a kick, something like that. But in this drawing, we're kind of drawing the fist away from the face, almost like it's coming from the face, and it's already had the impact, and we're kind of seeing the punch after the fact. Now, one thing you keep in mind here is that fist I just drew right now is kind of wrong because we have the fingers coming out. You want the fingers kind of going back in. It's like you want a closed fist, you want a flat front. Usually if you punch with your knuckles or your fingers just floating around, you might break your hand. So you need close, strong fist, and you see how it's almost like we're seeing the punch from a side view, right? Again, these are things where you can practice and look at drawings of hands and things like that. I have a video drawing hand gestures in 20 ways, which I think would be very helpful. I'll also link to that. You guys can go check that out as well, and it'll kind of teach you and go into a whole lot of detail. It's more of an observational tutorial. They'll go in a little more detail on how to draw hands, right? And in this case, closed fists. Unlike Aldo's, whose fists are open, is the same thing, right? But if you notice here, I don't care about the details. I'm just trying to figure out where the characters are positioned. So we have the Connor's second hand, and it's just like in that guard position in a way, just covering his face slightly in a way. But we have Connor's head facing up, and that's just like an expressive thing because he's going to show like some kind of emotion, and I think it'd be cool to show. I'm only shading that to let you know, and also to let me know that Connor's in front from our perspective, and just to differentiate. Now, sometimes you can have some lines if you're doing like a comic, especially if it's like manga influenced and it has that Japanese style to it. It's a Japanese style comic, and we have like speed lines. Sometimes you can have speed lines behind, and that will just add more emotion and some movement, like a cool feel to the punch overall, right? Now, if you want a video, again, I have videos on doing speed lines for my comic Apple Black. For those who don't know, you can check out Apple Black. The first 4 chapters are available online on Saturday AM. Saturday AM also celebrating our 50th anniversary for like our 50th issue, which is coming out pretty soon. More details in that later. Here I'm just adding like sound effects again. I have videos on sound effects. I have videos on almost everything you could possibly think of. Not everything, but most things. So you can check my channel, and if you have ideas for videos, I've probably already done it. Now I'm just erasing, and I'm about to go in with detail, right? And obviously this is just like a pencil sketch drawing, but it's going to be a little detailed, so it's not going to be too rough. But here I'm just going in with going to put his face in. And for the guy receiving the punch, you want, usually, unless he can't feel pain or something, you usually want some kind of shock and pain kind of thing going on here with this drawing. Excuse me. And I have like his pupil like not touching anywhere else in his eye, and his eyes like wide open, which add like to shock. We have his lips almost popping out a little bit, and I'll later put in his cheeks, how his cheeks are almost flying off his face. This is all to capture that moment of the punch, so you need to focus on things like that as well. Now I'll do that, you know, as time goes on. Here, just adding in hair, and that's again, just keeping the names of Aldo and Connor, just to make things simple and more straightforward. So yeah, right now at this point, I'm just going in with details. Here we're going to be adding some, like, you know, marks on his face, almost to show like he's been kind of beaten up a little bit. For Connor, sometimes one of the great things to add emotion is like hair movement. So I'm gonna have like Connor have, you know, a weird kind of mohawk hairstyle that's like floating, going in the opposite direction of where he's moving. One thing to keep in mind when you're doing these drawings is when it comes to shading, which I haven't really done much of yet in this drawing, but you want to shade in the direction of the movement, right? And that just adds to the whole look of the drawing. Here I just added the cheeks. His cheeks are like almost popping out his face. And I'm going to put like a snarky expression on Connor here, and he's going to be looking at the other on Aldo's face. Very stylized, simple drawings here. I'm not going for anything too super realistic, you know, very cartoony manga feel here. And again, like I was saying, when you're adding in the shading, which I'll do in a second, you want to shade in the direction of the movement. Almost the same. You want to do the shading should be somewhat parallel to where he's moving, and for the most part, that'll end up being where the speed lines being like parallel to the speed lines, and you will see that in a moment. This whole thing and this whole tutorial is just to add more emotion and life and movement to your fight scenes and your drawings, your illustrations, your comics, or things like that. And I think some of these tips and some of the things used in this tutorial might come in handy. Come in handy dandy. And I try to make things very simple with my tutorials. That's why I don't use that many unknown tools. All this in front of you is a pencil and sketchbook. So here I'm shading, but I'm shading in the direction of it's almost like under his elbow-ish, but his hand is like twisted, but he's stretching it out. And because that's the hand doing the punching, that hand is almost like flexing a little bit, so it's going to have more muscle definition for the most part. I think his whole body should have muscle definition because he's like moving and trying to deliver power in his punch. So you want it's almost like he's flexing. His whole body is flexing, especially the arm that's doing the punching. And he has like black gloves on. I'm not completely filling in the gloves black. I'm kind of like shading it in that direction of the movement while filling it black in a way. If you read a lot of comics, especially manga, you kind of see what I'm talking about with the way they ink, and they ink with strokes, and so the strokes are in the direction of to show movement, right? It's not always like a flat line doing whatever. Here I have him wearing a chain, and the chain is kind of like floating, right? If he's moving as fast as he is trying to deliver a punch, the chain is not just going to be resting on his chest, right? It's going to be kind of floating in the air a little bit.
Are you listening?
Again, adding more definition, adding some tendons under his fist. Someone kind of corrected me in one of my anatomy videos. Not corrected. I just forgot what they were called. But your tendons, like right underneath your palm. But he has like a closed fist, and we'll just see a little bit of that. So here, shading under his jaw, adding a little, a stubble, not a full goatee, but just a little bit. And yeah, now we're going to go into detail with Aldo. Again, very simple, stylized. The anatomy is not a main focus of this tutorial, but you can, if that's like your main deal, I have some tutorial videos, and one of my tips would be to actually look at human beings if that's what you're drawing, and gain some reference, influence, and inspiration from that, and it will kind of stick with you forever. Yeah, drawing his fingers. Gonna give him some like partially white gloves. This is MMA UFC style. But don't get it twisted. I'm like a huge WWE fan, bigger WWE fan than a UFC. But I like them both. Here I'm just adding in lines, kind of depicting some kind of motion from Aldo's body, just to show that he's moving. His body is moving in that direction. The power of the punch is moving moving his head, therefore moving the rest of his body. Again, I have tutorials on like leg muscles as well, so I'm applying that knowledge here. Again, I'll leave links to that. All sorts of videos. If you're interested in this kind of stuff, I have a lot of videos that tackle this and tackle also comic making, manga making, blah 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 blah. While we're on the subject, I'd just like to say that for my book, Apple Black Volume 1, which was released December 2014, Volume 1 of Apple Black is available for giveaway. I have a video explaining what the giveaway is and how you can get Apple Black. And the giveaway is still going on. I think I don't think it'll end on the 30th. So if you're interested in checking out my book, all first 9 chapters are in Volume 1. You can check that out, or you can just read the first 4 chapters free. Links below. Here, one thing to add that also shows motion is you have all these things like sweat flying around, this little circles, and you have the character sweating as well, and you have this little circle, and maybe sometimes you can even have like blood flying off. That's what I'm adding in right now. You can just be adding just these little things that just bring the drawing to life, and those like little dots and little droplets of sweat and things like that just add to that impact, the impact of that punch. And if this was a comic, another thing to add maybe would have been like a text bubble with Aldo's maybe with Aldo saying like something like that. I don't know, kind of like a URGH exclamation point. As for the exclamation point and the sound effects, if you guys know, it's kind of like my thing. Sometimes I use like actual words in my sound effects, but for the most part, I use exclamation marks, and the size of them just kind of express the volume of the sound, and I allow the reader kind of envision what the actual sound is without me having to put some ridiculous kapow or something. Yeah, some sound effects are ridiculous. Y'all can, let me know what you think about sound effects. And how I do sound effects and things like that. But again, that's pretty much it for this video. I hope you guys watched. I hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to check out Saturday AM. Our 50th issue is huge. Like, if you were ever going to try out Saturday AM, please, when issue 50 is released, you can just it'll just be $1.99 to check out issue 50, and it'll have all our major comics. It's like a big deal. And it's little things like this with the success of things like Saturday AM could enable an Apple Black anime or animes of series within Saturday AM as well. Just the whole overall success of things, and we could build something huge here on the web comic market and things like that, or just comics online, and kind of changing the landscape of things and having our own digital magazine that can rival the likes of like a Shonen Jump. It kind of you have to start from somewhere, and any support would be greatly appreciated. Usually, regular subscription is $5 a whole year, but we have a premium subscription which is $25 for a whole year. But if you subscribe for the premium before issue 50 is out, you would never have to subscribe again, and you would receive via email all the issues when they are released. So that's a great offer, the thing that we're offering right now that I strongly urge you guys to check out. So yeah, that's it, guys. I hope you guys again enjoyed it. Don't forget to like this video, leave a comment if you have any questions, and don't forget to subscribe. You can check out all my other videos that help a great deal. At least I think they do. And yeah, we've been talking for a while now. Hope you enjoy this little fight scene we got here. Connor versus Aldo. It's Whyt Manga, and I'm outie.